Hi, I'm Deborah Dahab, expat coach and intercultural psychologist, and here to help you make the most of your cultural transition. Today we're going to talk about the honeymoon phase. This is the first phase of the cultural transition, and you can look at the whole cultural transition in another video that I already posted. So the first phase is the honeymoon phase, and we're going to talk about how to make that last as long as you possibly can because it's one of the most exciting phases. And if you can make the most of it, the best it is, the best it's gonna be. So please subscribe to the channel down here below and let's get to it. So the honeymoon phase is known for being the most exciting phase. It's the time where you're very excited and it's an adventure and you're just soaking in everything of the new culture. You're still looking at things like a tourist would. So you're trying new food, seeing the sights, and it's really an exciting phase to be. So how do we make it last longer? The first tip I would give you is prepare. So before you actually make the move, and this is something interesting that some people don't realize, that your cultural transition does not start when you get on the plane or the train or whatever. It does not start when you arrive. It starts when you make the decision to move. And so that's when things are really starting to flow. So my suggestion would be prepare as much as possible. Learn the language early on. Get to know the culture, get to know the geography, get to know the history. This is really important when going into a culture. And the more you prepare, the more you're involved in what's going to be your new environment, the more synced you get into the process. So that's really important. So as much as you can, start learning the language if it's a different language. Learn about the customs, get in touch with people, with social media. It's so easy to do that nowadays. So get in touch with people who are there already, expats or locals if possible, and make the most of your preparation. The second tip I was going to give you that I find it really, really important for this phase is that you should delegate as much as possible, especially the boring stuff. So if you've been an expat, you know that we have to deal with bureaucracy. We have to deal with paperwork, and every country is going to be difficult. I have not heard of a country that's super easy breezy. You just get there and things are done. That's just the way it is. And if you can, and if that's something that really bothers you, delegate. Find someone who can help you, either like an agency or someone, a service provider, or Facebook groups that already have tips on that. So there are loads of resources online, and get that done early on. That's something that keeps lingering, and the process itself is hard. So you don't want to put more stress into that, right? And this is something that can really hinder the honeymoon phase because it's a pain, right? It's really not fun. So as much as you can, delegate this part, the bureaucracy, the red tape, etc. The third tip I was going to give you is about financial planning. So many times honeymoons are cut short because you gotta get money in, right? You gotta pay the bills. So as much as you can, try to provide a safety net. Because moving can be expensive. The whole moving process, the paperwork itself can be expensive, and so as much as you can for the first few months, if you have a safety net, if you have like a cushion that you can use and not be stressed out right at the bat about, you know, paying bills and being a stressful process, so much the better. So that's a lot to do with preparation as well. And the last tip I was going to give you is regarding, it's gonna end. I'm sorry to say this, but the honeymoon will end. It will come a day where you're just bored with the tourist life, and you know, some people say no, 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 that's not gonna happen to me. And well, yeah, some people, it takes a while for that to wear off. Many people, especially if they're transitioning also into retirement as well, which is very common. Some people move for retirement, so people will end up, you know, living the honeymoon perhaps longer than others who have to work. But still, it will end. It will come the day when you've been, you know, you've seen the sights and you kind of crave a little bit of normalcy and routine. And that's absolutely normal. That's just the end of a phase and the beginning of a new one. And if you want to know more about that, you can watch that in my other video about the cultural transition and cultural shock, because the next phase tends to be cultural shock. And that's, it can be pretty difficult, and you can, have a hard time with cultural shock. So just be mindful that, you know, enjoy this phase. It's really good. It's really fulfilling. And I'm sure you're going to miss this, but keep in mind that it will end. And you will go through another phase, which is a bit more challenging perhaps, and but equally enriching in terms of your internal growth. One last thing I wanted to talk about is if you, as an expat, if you're moving with children, you might see your honeymoon a bit shorter, because parents tend to put their child or their children's interests first. And unless the children are adjusted and are in school and, you know, already have friends and stuff like that, you tend to feel very anxious, and that's absolutely normal. So if that's your case, try to, even if you're really anxious about your child's adjustment, just know that it's usually children adjust pretty quickly to new things. And if you want to, you might want to help them if they are old enough to understand this this idea of the curve. You can show them the cultural transition curve that I mentioned in another video. It can help them understand that it's part of a process if they're old enough to understand and process this information. So I hope this was helpful. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.